Thank you, Thomas, for the kind words. So I come from the unit which is today called Connect G3. The name of the unit is Data Value Chain. The Data Value Chain unit now comprises language technology activities which were handled by one unit in the old structure. You may remember that there was unit E1, machine translation and language technologies. In the reorganization of our VGD, this unit was merged with two other units to create the data value chain unit. We have a Proposers Day going on here at the same time with this conference. You may know that. I was in the morning giving presentations about the ongoing calls for proposals or the funding opportunities for language technologies. I would like to start by asking how many of you were in my presentation this morning in the expo? Okay, I'm happy that it's not more than about 5 people. So I apologize to you 5 people that I will be repeating many of the messages, so I have some same slides, but I think it's a good idea to bring also to you the information about the open funding opportunities that were presented next door to you, because to those who were not able to attend it because you were here. So that's why I will show again these slides about the ongoing calls for proposals that where you can present, submit your project proposals. We have 2 different calls for the time being that include language technology opportunities. It's a call 10 and the SME call. And now I realize there is a mistake in the first slide already. It goes all wrong. The deadline of the call 10 is not January 13th, it's January 15th. It's better that it's this way and not the other way around. But I corrected this mistake in the slides that I presented today, but this was from the memory stick where I didn't remember to copy it. So the other call is the SME call. You may remember that in last year we had an SME call in language technologies. We are repeating that following the big success that we enjoyed in that call and the huge interest and oversubscription for this SME call. So in call 10 we have 3 topical areas: cross-media content analytics, high-quality machine translation, speech-enabled multi-media interaction. This looks pretty similar to call 7 that some of you may remember. There was 2 years ago a call that had these same themes in a slightly different order. There are some similarities, there's continuity, but there are also some new features. SME call, innovation objective, that's the innovation call, and that's objective 4.3. I will show you in more detail what that's all about, but it's a different call, although the call schedule are the same. So now there we have the right date. So maybe that's the slide now that I fixed. Forgot to fix the other one. So pay attention if you want to participate in this call for proposals, that the time limit is strict, and there's no flexibility. If you are late by 1 minute, your proposal will not be taken into account. And you can avoid that problem by submitting in time. So that's why I had the January 13th in the previous slide. As I said, there is this thematic continuity to the call 7, but on the other hand, the situation is now different in the sense that this is the last call of the 7th framework program, the new program will be formulated in the coming months and will become active from 2014, 1st of January, we hope. And this call acts, the projects that arise from this call hopefully will act as a bridge towards the future. So that's why there are some specific features. Well, the common features are these, that we are still in this business of written and spoken language, multilinguality, cross-linguality, handling everyday language, social media, user-generated content, so not only well-formed documents but also ill-formed streams from the web, coping with massive volumes and diverse sources. And in an ideal world, the technologies that this project developed should be generic and let's say as language independent as possible. As language independent as possible. I mean, it's of course not always possible, but there would be the minimum amount of handcrafting when it comes to language adaptation or domain adaptation, so that this is a desirable feature. Now the new features, the emphasis is to go beyond text and speech in the pure format to all the types of objects that you find on the web, for example. All the different the files, media files that you find in the different formats, audio, video, pictures, scanned documents, databases, whatever, on top of the usual well-behaving text files or PDF files or speech recordings. And the other feature, desirable feature, is to have approaches crossing across scientific disciplines, and to have also multidisciplinary partnerships in the sense that it is, let's say, unusual partnerships. This means that, and this is what I have been telling many of the proposers in the bilateral discussions yesterday and today, that in this particular call, extensions or continuations of previous projects are not a very good idea, or they are not very well received, because they don't really fit into this picture, because you have to open up, find new partnership, not just the same people continuing doing the same thing that was done in the earlier call. So that is of course something that we may not be able to completely avoid, because we also have to guarantee some continuity. Then again, the warm recommendation is not to, if you want to submit a proposal to one of these, it's always better to pick one of them and concentrate, focus your idea, your project into one of the A, B, or C, and not try to mix and try to cover them all. It does not improve the success of the proposal if you address many, or if you want to give the impression that you are doing everything that is asked for in the work program. No, it's actually, you have to be selective and focus. We have very little money in this call. We only have 21 million euros for STREP projects and then 6 million for these coordination and support actions. So that's why we can only fund up, let's say, typically up to 3 STREP projects per each of these A, B, and C. Be ambitious and forward-looking. These projects should be hopefully groundbreaking and propose something new and something that is not necessarily achieved by the end of the project, but would be something that would start a new track that could be then pursued in the new funding program until 2020. If we take them one by one, these topics, analytics is basically just giving the machine the ability to understand human language and extract relevant facts from it and present it to the human users for some useful purpose. And here we hope to be able to do that in an increasing manner across languages and across different media types. Each of these two challenges is already difficult enough, so you don't have to solve all the problems and do it across everything in one project. But these are the challenges that we want to address. Cross-linguality is very important. It's really the must, because monolingual analytics is already in the market, mostly in the English language, but monolingual by language. It's the idea now to actually cross between languages and cross between media types using diverse multilingual sources. So everything that is on the web, that it could be included in analytics and not missed by analytics. English language analytics, as it currently stands on the market, that's the benchmark. And if you can reach that level with other languages, that's already good achievement. And then people often ask me, what language technologies are we supposed to employ in this first theme, the analytics? It's really, there is no answer. The only answer is that the ones that are needed for the task. I've seen a couple of, not very many, but some pre-proposal ideas on translation line. So there are some opportunities here. Looks like it's not as popular as analytics. Analytics is extremely popular. Everybody has an idea on that and wants to submit a proposal. But in translation, maybe we set the bar too high, because now we want to have high quality machine translation, and some people say it's not possible. Okay, it depends on how you define high quality, but it's, let's say, significantly better quality than the existing systems, especially for target languages other than English. So in this call, it's we don't want to see systems developed from language X into English and saying that, okay, this will be for better quality. Google is doing that. We don't have to do that. We don't have to repeat that. But let's do the other direction, because that is where there's already there's so much work to do, and you are speakers of different languages that probably are not catered well by machine translation systems. So the target languages, that's the difficult point. So improve the quality significantly in the smaller target languages, and especially target languages other than English. What we want here is to have also some sort of groundbreaking and not just recombination of existing methods and techniques. So please, no proposals on post-editing or combining CAT and MT, and because we have already many projects on those topics, and it's quite an exhausted area. So that's why we're asking something more fundamental here, some new approaches. There's nothing wrong with Moses as a platform for open source platform for statistical machine translation. It's a great platform, but I just want to say that we have seen already so many projects with Moses tuned for this and that purpose, or applied in this or that context, that if you use Moses to do something, then suggest something radical, so that it somehow tackles rich morphology languages much better than what's been possible until now, especially when the rich morphology languages are the target language. Then the interaction is not only speech recognition, and I would say it's less speech recognition than dialogue technology. So the emphasis is on the dialogue and modeling the dialogue and a natural dialogue between human and machine. I refer here to Marta's presentation in the morning that automatic speech recognition is a very difficult area, and where you can spend easily millions of money. We have so little budget for this call that we want to focus it on something, and that's we want to focus it on the fundamentals of the dialogue, because maybe we will reach some impact there without diluting it to the developing ASR components for all the different European languages, which is of course should be done, but we don't yet have the budget for that. We hope that we will have it in future funding programs. Then each of these A, B and C is also open for one coordination and support action, which is not a research project, but it is sort of a support project that supports road mapping and strategic planning, and in this case strategic planning into the future framework program, into the future funding programs. And that's why there has been a budget reserved for one CSA project for each of these topical A, B, C areas. So this I would say that only 21 million for STREPs, no more than 6 million for the CSAs, and there is no predefined allocation of budget between the A, B and C, so it's not necessarily 1/3 each, but it only depends on the quality of the proposal, so it's competitive. Each of the lines are competing with the other lines. So project, as usual, typical project duration 3 years, up to 3 million funding, and these are not strict rules, but these are some sort of practical guidelines. Support actions only 2 years, 2 million funding, because they are relatively small and they cannot then they don't have the resources maybe for a longer duration than 2 years. And to the question that many people ask that how many languages do we have to cover, I would say 3 as minimum. 2 is a little bit at the limit of being a multi or cross-lingual project. So that's my answer, is that 3 or more languages. The SME call is supposed to ease the transfer and take-up of language technologies by SMEs, and this special type of project where there's special requirements, there must be at least 2 SMEs in the consortium that suggest this project, and at least 30% of the budget must go to the SMEs. It's open for any type of application and any type of language technology, so there's no prescription. It's anything goes, as long as it's impactful application or introduction of language technologies into some useful way to leverage multilinguality in business workflows, for example. So if you have a proposal idea, you can ask for a non-committing assessment. You can send it to me, and I will give you feedback on what you might improve. So this is service we have always had before the call closes. And now I still have 10 minutes time to say a few words about the new programs. That's the people are always interested in hearing. Will there be funding for language technology in the future programs? Now, there will be no FP8, there will be no CIP2 programs, but the current CIP, the Competitiveness and Innovation Program, and the current FP7 framework program will be in a way combined in this Horizon 2020. So Horizon 2020 is a composite program that will cover both research and then post-to-market type of project, innovation. Then we have a newcomer here, which is the Connecting Europe Facility program, which is about creating infrastructures. I'll say a few more words about that later. Both of these programs are now in the status of legislative proposals. Legislative proposal that has been presented by the European Commission to the legislators, to the lawmakers, because they decide about the use of the EU budget, so they will need to adopt the legal acts of this program before they enter into force. And that's the situation with these programs now. Horizon 2020, there is a budget of 80 billion euros for the 7 years duration. That's the figure that is in the Commission proposal, and it's now under discussion by member states, governments, and in the European Parliament. So there are these three pillars: the excellent science, industrial leadership, and societal challenges. Language technology currently belongs to the industrial leadership track, but of course it's obvious that it also affects societal challenges. So, but for the time being, it is more likely that language technology could be covered in this industrial leadership. There are novelties like in this program that it makes increased use of financial instruments. Financial instruments are basically loans and guarantees which are granted by financial institutions. So the money is channeled to the European Investment Bank, and it is then distributed through financial intermediaries to the beneficiaries, and they are in the form of loans, so that they are kind of money that you have to pay back. So they are being increasingly popular among politicians because they are cheaper, of course, than grants, because grants you don't have to pay back. But they are not free of charge either, the risk finance, because the Commission will have to cover the risk factor. So the fact that some of this loan money will not be paid back. And there's a specific dedicated SME instrument in the top. So this is how the Horizon 2020 looks like. Now these are the main themes. These are the themes that are mentioned in the legislative proposal. We have content technologies and information management, which is where we are located now. And if you look into what is in that, this is what the legislative proposal says about language. So the text in red is what is written now currently in the current legislative proposal, which is of course subject to amendments by the lawmakers. This is not the final text, this is only the Commission proposal. So that there are mentions of language in the context usually of content and data. There's a hook for language technologies through that mention. That's what I wanted to just show you. So the big question mark is what happens in the summit that is going to discuss the budgetary outline for the next 8 years until 2020. And it will probably also be decisive of what happens to the funding of this program. Connecting Europe Facility is an infrastructure program. It's about roads, road networks and energy grids, power lines. It's about broadband networks. But we have included a new thing into that called digital services. And one of digital services that's included in this package is multilingual access to online services. And it's currently under heated debate between the member states in the council working groups, and they are asking questions and questioning all these components of the digital services, including multilingual access to online services. And the idea that we have for this linguistic infrastructure, that it would enable any provider of online services to to have their content available automatically or as easy as possible in all EU languages in a most cost-effective way. So that the idea is to create a digital single market in the sense of crossing the language barriers. Quite simply, and it would address not only the commercial e-commerce, commercial services, web services, but also the public services, e-government, and so on. And if possible, also address user-generated content, social media type of content. So there's just the arguments that we are using for defending this linguistic infrastructure, that there is a danger that many languages are marginalized and will, especially in the online domain, that they are not served by online services the way big languages are served, and especially English language. That's all, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, and we must have time for some quick questions. Given the importance of this topic.
It's a rapid question. Are we rightly inferring that between this call and the first call of H2020, there will be no further call in ICT?
That's right, yes. That's what it means when I say that this is the last call of this program, yes. There will be call 11, but there is no language technology in that call. We have the big data objective, which is open in call 11, but it's almost the same timing. It closes in April, so that it's and that's the last one.
Kimmo, a few of the small companies who heard about these plans with the loans given to them instead of funding, they were worried now because they were worried that this would also be true for increasingly for research risk, because certain regions in Germany, Berlin is among them, has tried this scheme with loans, and it did not work out so well, because before they asked for paying back in case of smashing commercial success. That was okay, so they got money back actually, but then they wanted to have it as a loan, and it turned out the small companies, if they borrow money, they would use some other means, and would not really want to burden their books with a debt. And the big companies, they were even laughing about it. I remember the guy from Daimler, he got up and said, are you joking? We have an own bank. If I need money, I go to my own bank. I don't need to go to the public funder. So they said, if you want to contribute to fund risk, then it's risk funding, and loan is not really risk funding because you have to pay back the loan, even if so I think maybe you can clarify. It's probably there will be additional research funding, I hope also for small companies, that you take away the worry.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This was a simplified presentation, and the financial instrument is in fact more than just loans. It is venture capital, it is risk capital as well. So we try to facilitate access of companies, especially SMEs and startups, to risk capital, the business angels, trying to create this sort of climate and environment that is in Silicon Valley, or even try to come too close to that, because Europe is doing poorly in venture capital sourcing of high-tech SMEs. So that's one of the, so it's not necessarily money that you have to pay back, but on the other hand, you get an additional stakeholder to your company in that process. So in that sense, it doesn't come really free, and it will be a new way of thinking. And there are lots of of areas in language technology that it's hard to imagine that they would be covered by such financial instruments, like who would be willing to be the risk investor funding collection of language resources, for example. So there are areas that are more likely to continue to be funded through public funding and through grants. There are other areas of closer to market, closer to exploitation, where we have had success stories, and that's more likely that the investors would be interested in investing.
But if I may myself ask a quick question. I take your point that you were warning us against continuing doing the same thing in an extended program. On the other hand, within NetOnNet and within CSER, we have a mature consortium with a broad vision, and we have an action plan charted out. Wouldn't any of the CSA lines be a suitable instrument in a different grouping and with focus to these particular lines to try to find a funding opportunity for us?
Not as such, not continuing the operation of this meta project as such, but there is the one which I only was presented in one of the bullet points, the 4.1.d, is this joint plans and things like that, which is the CSA, yes, CSA action, and it, I would imagine that the mandate of that particular support action is actually to eternalize what has been achieved in the meta cluster of projects. But of course, it's a small CSA, it cannot be expected to carry on the work that you have done in all this, because the size of the order of magnitude is like 1/10 of what is the budget for these meta cluster projects. So you understand that it cannot really do the substance work at all. It can do the planning and the strategic planning, carrying the idea forward to times when we hopefully have